is looking right from Waghorn's cottage straight down the road towards.
Yeah, fellas, we're going to take a tour of the grove and date back as far as I can remember, which is 1922. I was 5 years old when I first saw Clement Falls, and I can show you where the first season we spent here. Tell you something about what happened then. Tell you something about what went on in the grove, and some history of some of the cottages, not all. Some will have more history than the others. Some I think you'll find particularly interesting. So we'll do that as we go through the grove. That's the general idea we want to do.
Exactly what we
Sounds
want
good
to do.
to us. So are you ready to go?
I think we're ready to go. We're going to head down to the end by the Perry Cottage.
And we're going right up the highway.
We're going right the highway. And Uncle Frank is going to take us from the highway right on down through. And at the cottages that we have some interest, or Uncle Frank has some interest in, we're going to stop and he'll give us historical significance.
So let's go.
You're just driven up this side road, I guess you could call it now. And this was the location of the original road between Clement Falls and Oakdale and beyond.
Right.
The side of the road, over this way, is the remains of what was a tennis court, built and operated by the Association of Cottagers in the Grove.
Right. So Stuart's right on the wall there, the terrace edge.
Here's right on the part of the level.
You're standing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And over there. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
This cottage more recently has been owned by the Perry family. This is the second generation, and he's an elderly man now. His son is good age too. When we came up first, this cottage was owned by Roberts, who summered here from Montreal. And one of the things that we used it for, there was a boathouse, not this great big one, but a small one down right at the water, and it had a spring inside. So this is where all the local people got the water from that spring.
Came right into the boathouse?
Yep, inside the boathouse.
And it would
All
be
right.
running out to the lake, obviously.
Well, it was actually in a casing.
Yeah.
Now, behind it they had a guest house. And it was to that guest house that the Jared family first came. They rented that for 1 or 2 seasons before they built their own down the Grove.
The Jareds.
Jared.
Why don't I run up and take a quick look at that? This is the Perry Cottage still, and the little cabin right there. There it is. Cottage, and I helped put the septic tank in here. Isn't that exciting? Okay, here we go. Let's get in the car.
Yeah, as long as I can remember, it's been in the Mac family. This is the second generation. The original Mac, he worked for General Electric, as a senior executive. Came up here, always worked as a cook, and with a maid, and that is the purpose of 2 small houses beside the main structure. Right.
Take a view of the lake, Scott.
There's the one,
Yeah.
and the other one is on the other side. I don't know if we can see it from here, can we? There it is.
Through the trees.
And then it way through there. Yeah, and one was for the cook and the other for the maid.
For the maid. And take a look at the lake from here as well. You can see directly across where that sea flea is now running by. Directly across there would be Rosedale. You
Right.
can see the 2 islands on the other side. Did they come in?
They don't come in right now.
There's Frank Kinsinger's right across there.
Yep.
Good view
Okay.
of the lake.
Zoomed in on that one. Good view of the lake.
What Frank Kinsinger has now is a beautiful cottage. Was originally, still is, basically a log building, and was originally a hunting camp.
Huh.
cottage we now look at is our first introduction to Fenland Falls. Mellish Cottage was rented by the Kinsinger Boynton family in 1922 September. It was my grandfather, my grandmother, our own family. A couple of days after we got here, Frank and Louise Kinsinger, who hadn't been married too long at that time, they arrived and spent some of the time with us too. It was an old cottage at that point. It had a boathouse with a little skiff, amongst other things. It had a big boat too. But I went with Frank and Louise, and at that point, just out in front of the cottage, picked up a 10-pound muskie. Never forgot that.
Just out front here.
Yep. Now, there are other cottages on this property now, but they have no relation to the original one here in the corner.
And that is Mrs. Mellish we see sitting on the porch now. And we'll have a chat with her later. Look back towards town there, Stuart. This is the new Mellish waterfront with the dock. There's a view on the lake. Town beach right here too. And directly across there is the public beach at Fenland Falls, where we often enjoy fireworks on July the 1st.
The original, you ready?
Yep.
The original trip up here was by an open touring car, and we left the pavement at Whitby and traveled dirt roads the rest of the way. Total trip some 5 hours odd, and for a long time after that, subsequent trips, if you got here and back without a flat tire, you were extremely lucky. How did we happen to get this cottage? Dad was selling insurance at the time, and he sold some insurance to Mr. Mellish. Prior to that, grandfather had been looking for a place, and I guess Dad talked to Mellish about that, and he said, why don't you rent my place for a couple of weeks in September and see how you like it up there. That's the background.
What was the other ways that you used to travel up here besides car?
By train.
By train? Yeah. And would they? I've heard stories of you'd come up for the summer with your trunk full of stuff, and where would you get off? Right in Fenland?
Oh yeah, we never did that. I can cover a little later how I came up first by train.
Okay.